Things are really heating up in Andor land. It's beginning to feel like the end. This week we had 3 new episodes released covering the climax of the Empire invasion of the planet Gorman, and the reception was, quite frankly, ridiculous. Both episodes 8 and 9 shot to the top of the rankings as the best rated Andor episodes of either season, and after watching them, I can say that I get it. Not to say that I agree, but we'll get to all that later. Before we jump into our 3rd year of Season 2, I do have to mention that the political consistencies with our current year are astonishing. This being written in 2022 to 2023 has been getting harder to believe with each passing episode. We have aggressive responses to peaceful protest, colonization, and forced relocation of a nation, and all of this happened pre-Israel-Palestine? Nah, no way. Tony Gilroy and his band of misfits are time travelers, and I will not be convinced otherwise. Let's get into spoilers. Episode 7 is almost entirely set up, with only a few small details that I'll discuss during the covering of greater character arcs, so let's straight up just jump into Episode 8's presentation of the Gorman Massacre. I'll start by saying that I feel this episode is heavily similar to One Way Out of Season 1. Not only is it the highest rated, but the episode has a clear focus on a widespread group's struggle under the Empire, and is framed as practically one singular long-ass set piece. Here, the Gorman protest and massacre, and with One Way Out, the prison break. I'll say that the thing that I probably appreciate the most about this format for this episode is how crowded and connected everything feels. It brings a climactic feeling to the episode to see the majority of our main cast finally on one planet, cutting between them, yet still remaining in the setting, hearing the Gorman chants and songs. The crowd making it impossible for Cassian to reach his allies or really do anything during the protest certainly adds a boatload of stress in the same way that the Season 1 finale did. I enjoy how cultural the protest is, with the lyrics of the Gorman song genuinely resembling some real-life national anthems sung by citizens with a deep appreciation for their country. My biggest issue with this entire piece is that I do feel as if everything is a little obvious from the beginning, and so the firing of the shot and the panic of the people, while disturbing, is not as impactful or shocking as I think was meant to be. How sad is that to say, though, that I expected something like that to happen from the beginning? Ugh. However, something I do adore is the nitty-gritty details of the Empire's plan and how genuinely sinister their steps to colonization are. From the beginning, they have been playing off of the Gorman Rebellion, allowing them to make their moves in a long con sort of fashion. Simultaneously, the Empire, as they do, manipulates their own. It's clear as day that the men on the ground, at least most of them, had no clue that the person who killed their coworker was, in fact, an Imperial sniper. The Empire is playing their own men against the Gormans, and this becomes even more clear with the final arc of Cyril Karn. Cyril's role in these episodes is a little confusing. I find it hard to believe that Cyril would suddenly decide that he's actually on the side of the rebellion the whole time, considering how much of an Imperial shill he's been the entire series. However, the more I think about it, the more I like it. Cyril begins the series with complete faith in the Empire. He brings to them information on Imperial soldier killer Cassian Andor, expecting a thanks in return, only to be given no help at all. When the search for Cassian goes poorly, Cyril has his first transformation, deciding that not everyone can be trusted in the Empire. So he latches on to Dedra, believing he can trust her simply because of his incel crush on her. She is initially disgusted, but eventually leans into it, leading him on so that she can use him. He believes that she considers him worthy of her respect, only for that rug to be pulled also when he discovers that he has not been let in on the full plan about the Gormans. Cyril has been led to believe that the Gormans are worse people than they are, and that the Empire's intentions are simply to attract outside agitators. Whether Cyril would have agreed with a full-blown massacre of the Gormans if he was let in on the secret is up in the air. He is still an Imperial loyalist, and he'd likely go along with anything Dedra said. However, since she didn't let him in on the secret, he is not with her at all, and determines that not only can not everyone be trusted, but no one can be trusted in the Empire. Dedra, his last connection to the Empire, has proven herself to have no true respect or love for him, and so he wanders helplessly until he sees Cassian's face. Just because Cyril doesn't trust the Empire doesn't mean he's suddenly a rebel. He hates Cassian, and the one thing that he can do for himself at this point is kill the dude who started all this hell for him. He brutally beats Cassian in a down and dirty fight, taking some heavy hits himself, but getting the upper hand, only for Cassian to utter the words, "Who are you?" proving that even this mission is pointless, as his own biggest rival has no clue who he is. If Syril didn't get a bullet through his head seconds later, he may have just done it himself. That's dark, I know, but this arc depressingly takes away everything that Syril cares about and completely diminishes his sense of self-worth. He has no belief in anything anymore and no drive left in the tank. The Empire's manipulative system has gotten so bad that it practically got a man killed, with no violence, just mental torture. And now Dedra will have to confront that. Despite how much she led Syril on, she cared about him, and I wouldn't be surprised if even her loyalties are tested after this debacle. I really like Syril Karn's arc, and Kyle Soller understands the hopelessness of it all with his pale, dirtied face of complete dread. He doesn't exactly sympathize with the rebel cause, but he finally understands how much of this suffering on both sides is pointless. I think Syril as a character is a very strong representation of the hurt the Empire gives, and though his exit from the show was pretty unexpected, I'm satisfied with it. After the Gorman massacre, things get more political in Episode 9, a Mon Mothma-focused episode. Episode 9 delivers all the catharsis we have been waiting for. After having to see the rebels stay silent strategically and kill each other off to protect the cause, Mon Mothma finally decides that it's time someone says something. We see how far the Empire's reach goes when a Gorman senator is taken away and quite possibly imprisoned, or worse, and we know that's Mon next. What she gets for speaking out is an execution, but her bravery persists. I love the details of Mon's speech to the Senate about the Gorman massacre. The speech itself is striking, but I especially love the decision to have the Senate actively boo her when she begins to define what is happening to Gorman as a genocide. There's a level of brutal honesty to it all, embracing the ignorance that you will certainly see in the wealthy and uncaring. Not only do the senators disagree with Mon, they're not even willing to listen to her. The poetic truth to her words is striking deaf ears, but she keeps speaking. The presentation of her little cell in the Senate, quite literally sticking out with a spotlight on it while people point and jeer, is, well, it's depressing. After her speech, Mon is rescued by Cassian, which is a bizarre moment considering how long these two have been apart, and is instantly thrown into the heat of death. When Cassian kills the ISB plant, it doesn't entirely hit, but this is the first time Mon has seen a person die. Moments like this, and like Luthen's genuinely sinister scene earlier in the episode, continue to show the gray area of the rebellion. Some can't stand to go in it, some live in it, and some are just barely keeping the last bit of sanity they have left, and that's Luthen. Alright, let's finally talk about the man himself, Cassian. Cassian in Episode 8 is honestly, to me, a little weak. I enjoy his interactions with Will, but he's mostly just trying and failing to shoot Dedra the whole time. Episodes 7 and 9, however, keep up Cassian's plotline of becoming a rebel leader instead of a simple rebel soldier. There's a fun moment in which Bix and Cassian encounter a Force healer who predicts Cassian will be an integral part of the Resistance. Hilariously, Cassian doesn't believe in magic despite the universe he's living in, but Bix presses him on the subject and is later told by Vel the same thing. Cassian is important. Constantly, Cass is told that he will have to stop being reckless and instead be thoughtful, but with Bix in his life, he will always be too chaotic to focus. So, she takes herself out of his life, leaving him a video and hopping on a transport while he's sleeping. I hope this isn't the last we see of Bix, though it is a very satisfying resolution to the two's relationship. Cassian spends Arc 2 of this season helping Bix through her trauma, and eventually helping her to seemingly move past most of it. And her returning that favor to him would be a perfectly fine way for their love story to conclude, even if we see more of Bix on her own. I also greatly appreciate Cassian's final scene for a single line that we hear in which he is referred to as Captain Andor. Touches such as this really show that the writers, in this case Dan Gilroy, are paying close attention to the intricacies of their arcs. Just as Cassian is left with nothing but the rebellion to manage, he is essentially given a salute of respect. With Luthen seeming to crack during this episode, becoming more fragile and egotistical, I would not be surprised if Cassian were to take his place during our final arc. So that's my thoughts on this set of episodes. I'm sorry that this was more of a recap than a review, but I tried my best. There's just a lot of events to cover. I'll throw in a few critiques just to explain my final score more clearly. I do feel like this 3-episode, 1-year time skip thing is still pretty flimsy, and it shows especially badly in this arc. Vel bizarrely is just friends with Cassian now, despite not having talked about him or seen him since she and Cinta tried to assassinate him on Ferrix in Season 1. Willman has also walked out of Saw's shadow, who isn't even in this arc at all, which is a little strange. This rigorous format makes for some jarring changes between episodes, ones which I much more would have liked to see happen on screen. Nonetheless, this is a 9 out of 10 arc. The conclusions and developments for Cyril and Cassian are actually so good here that I think they retroactively made me like some other episodes more. The political references are practically Nostradamus level and show a great level of bravery from creator Tony Gilroy and his Goon Squad. I feel like a show like Andor is really just what we needed right now. Too bad foreign movies just got an 100% tariff put on them. What the fuck? Bye now.